Studies have shown that the average US household has about 300,000 things in it. Now, I don't know if we ever reached that average while we were living in the US, but there are some things that we now own since moving here to Germany that we didn't own in the US. And that's for various practical, cultural, or even legal reasons.
Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie.
And I'm Aubrey.
And we are two Americans currently living in Germany and sharing all of our experiences living here, as well as our travels throughout Germany and Europe. Rather than sit behind the desk like we normally do and tell you about a few objects that we had never owned before living in Germany, we thought we would take you out and walk you through a normal daily routine with us that looks a little different than how it did when we lived in the US. But first, as usual, we have to give you the disclaimers that these differences may be specific to where we came from in the United States or Southwest Germany where we live now, and others' experiences may be different from ours. Also, some of these differences may not be specific to just the US and Germany, but may apply to other places, but this is just where we have happened to live and have experiences. But now, we need to get right into our video, things we never owned before moving to Germany.
When we realize that we have no food left in our apartment, the first thing we have to do before going to the grocery store is grab our reusable bags. Now, this is something that we had never owned before living in Germany because in the US, most grocery stores will just automatically bag your groceries for you in plastic bags. But here in Germany, reusable bags for your groceries are an integral part of our grocery shopping.
Now, driving to the grocery store, there are a few items that we own in our vehicle and we have to own in our vehicle that we don't have in the US. And those things are reflective vests for all the passengers in the vehicles, a reflective orange triangle, as well as a first aid kit. These things are just in case you have any kind of car problems and have to pull off on the side of the road, and you don all of your safety equipment, and then people that are driving by can see you and you can check your vehicle out safely. The orange triangle, you put that back behind your vehicle a certain distance depending on what kind of road you are on so that people can be alerted that there's going to be somebody with car problems up ahead. And of course, in the US, you don't have to wear any of the safety equipment if you don't want to whenever you're checking your vehicle for any kind of problems on the side of the road.
The other thing we had never owned before in the US, and this is probably more specific to our region of the US, but that's winter tires. In Germany, we have a set of summer tires and winter tires. And there's a saying in Germany that you have your winter tires on your vehicle from O bis O, meaning from October bis Ostern, in October until Easter. I do find it a little funny because, again, in our specific part of Germany, we had one snow day this past winter and 2 other days where it snowed a little bit but never really stuck, and it hardly ever got below freezing all that often, but still most everybody has winter tires or at least all-season tires.
The next thing that is in our car that we had never owned in the US is called a Parkscheibe, or a parking disc. And these are used primarily in parking zones or parking lots where there are no parking meters, but they still have a limited time that you're allowed to park. So basically, on this dial, you just set the time that you are parking, and then you will put this in your dash, and that lets the parking attendants know whenever they come by how long you've been parked here and if you are still within the time limit of the parking lot. In the US, if you have like a 2-hour parking zone, for example, and you park there, I think the understanding is just kind of if someone comes by and checks and you're there longer, then you can get in trouble. Other than that, you're kind of good to go. And we don't have something like this that we have ever owned before in our cars.
The first thing we have to do when we get to the grocery store is to get our shopping cart. And here in Germany, the grocery carts are all chained together. So you have to put a coin in to receive your cart, and then you get your coin back after you return your cart. So something that we never owned before living here was one of these little things you put on your keychain so that if you forgot to bring a coin, you don't have one with you, you just put this in the cart and then you're able to get your cart without having a coin. And we never had to own these in the US because our carts are always just where you can grab them. You don't have to put anything in to receive your cart unless you're at Aldi, which of course is a German grocery store.
Now, of course, part of living in Germany and going to places like the grocery store is that we are surrounded by a new language to us, and we are making it a point to learn German so we can better connect with the culture around us and expand our opportunities here. Because of this, one thing that we now own that we had never owned in the US are language classes.
A lot of you have been asking what we have been using to learn German while we're here, and we are super excited to tell you about what I have been using to learn German, and that is Lingoda. I work full-time right now, so I needed a language school that is completely flexible with my time and was very convenient. I also really wanted to learn the language, not just learn how to ask where the milk is or say thank you after paying for my groceries. Lingoda is 100% online classes that meet via a video call and is taught by a native speaker of the language you are wanting to learn, with class sizes only being 3 to 4 students on average, with a max of 5 students at a time. Also, classes are offered 24/7, so the combination of classes I'm able to choose class times that work for me, small group sizes, a native speaker, teacher, and classes for all learning levels, Lingoda has been ideal for my schedule and language learning needs. They also offer classes for English, Business English, Spanish, and French. I was using Lingoda for a few months prior to Lingoda wanting to sponsor one of our videos, and we jumped at the opportunity because this is a platform that I have been personally using and have loved. One thing I have loved is that the teachers are native speakers, so we have the structured classes we are learning from, but they often will also share their personal experiences and sometimes what is more colloquial rather than just drilling grammar all the time. It has taken away the fear of learning a new language and is a very relaxed and comfortable environment. I mean, I'm taking classes in my own home, so how much more comfortable can it get? To give you a better idea of what the classes are like, here is a quick peek into one of my actual Lingoda classes.
Aubrey?
Haare schneiden, das ist Friseur.
Der Friseur, genau. Oder die Friseurin.
We cannot recommend Lingoda enough for a comfortable, challenging, and fun experience at language learning. In fact, we have teamed up with Lingoda to try and help you and give you an opportunity to try out their services. For 20% off of your first month of Lingoda, use the link in the description of this video and our promo code PASSPORT2 to redeem this amazing offer.
Another thing that we always bring with us to the grocery store that we did not have in the US is our glass milk bottles. And this is something that we have always just thought of as something from the 50s, but here at our grocery store at least, we are lucky enough to have some fresh milk right outside the grocery store that we can come and get every time we're here. We know this isn't something that's at every grocery store in Germany, but we feel like we're lucky that we have this at our grocery store.
Another thing that we do now here in Germany is we take our shoes off as we enter the house, and to help us do that we have a stool with a little bit of some shoe storage underneath. And this is something that we did not own in the US that we now own in Germany, and that is because this is a little bit of a cultural difference between Germans and Americans. Americans, there's a lot of people that do like to take their shoes off before they enter their house, but at the same time, we're not very big sticklers about it, and a lot of people will commonly wear their outdoor shoes inside as they walk around their home. But in Germany, something that we have definitely noticed is that almost all of the German homes that we go to, they'll have some sort of bench inside the front door so they can sit down and easily take their shoes off, and then they will grab their house shoes and put on their house shoes for when they walk around. Kind of like what Mr. Rogers used to do. So this is something that we have since adopted, and now we have our stool that we have at the front door so we can easily take off and put on our shoes whenever we go outside.
When we are putting our groceries away, we will put our bread in a bread box. Now, a bread box is also something that I think of as from an era gone by, but I did grow up with one in the house, but I don't remember ever using it for bread. It was more of just for extra storage. And then when Donnie and I got married, we never had a bread box. But whenever we moved to Germany, we bought our very own bread box, and we now use it for its intended purpose. Now that we get our bread from a baker, we like to throw it in the bread box because we've learned its function is to help retain moisture so the bread lasts longer. The plastic bag around bread at a grocery store also has a bit of the same function and is why we never used a bread box before, but some people have said that a bread box does a better job than a plastic bag because it still allows the bread to breathe a bit.
So after a long day of running errands, something that we may do is send a message on WhatsApp to our friends to see if they would want to hang out that evening. And that is something that is unique to my phone since moving to Germany, is actually owning the app WhatsApp. Before, whenever we were in the US, most of the time, all of us would just send each other messages on iMessage because we would pretty much all have iPhones, and if that wasn't the case, then we would just send each other text messages. And most Americans don't understand the reasoning behind having a third-party messaging system. And that was until we moved to Germany and suddenly everybody was using WhatsApp to message each other. Now there definitely are other apps that people use, not just strictly WhatsApp, but that seems to be the most predominantly used messaging app on phones, and that is now what we use on ours. Well guys, that was just a quick look into a few different things that we never owned before moving to Germany, and we hope that you enjoyed seeing some of those things and some of those little minute daily differences between the life in the US and life in Germany. And if you did, please hit that like button and also subscribe, because we would love for you to continue traveling with us and experiencing Germany along with us.
Cheers!
But may apply, but to just, no.
My face was like...
that we have ever owned before in our cars. How was that?
is get our shopping cart. And, sorry, it's really bright. Eek. Is get our shopping cart. And here in Germany, most of them, hold on, the first.
And this is something that is a little bit of a cultural difference. And this is something that we might get a text from a friend on WhatsApp. No, that's not right. That's not right. So after I hit my head on the lamp, that seems to be the most predominantly used one for us here in Germany.